What is going on, beautiful people? I am Lee Hammock, the diagnosed self-aware narcissist known as mental illness, and welcome to another episode of A Narcissist Explains. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about narcissists and their emotional age. Emotional age is different than physical age. Stay tuned, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much. So when it comes to narcissists and toxic people, emotional age matters. And if you're new here, I'm a narcissist. I have narcissistic personality disorder. What I mean by emotional age is most narcissistic people, most toxic people experience something called arrested development. It's where they experience some type of trauma or situation where they stop growing emotionally. They keep growing physically. They keep having physical birthdays, but emotionally they stop growing and they don't have emotional birthdays. So when you're arguing with a narcissist or suspected narcissist, toxic person, whatever, ask yourself how old emotionally is this person's response to whatever is going on. Because the silent treatment, deflection, and narcissistic rage are all signs of a lack of emotional intelligence and a sign of a lack of emotional maturity. Because kids go silent and pick on you. You know, kids rage out on you and scream at you and yell at you when they don't have a rebuttal. And just because they lack emotional intelligence, it doesn't mean that they can't be smart people or actual educated people. It just means that they're emotionally stunted. Emotional growth is hard to come. So welcome back, beautiful people. I'm going to hop right into this. Emotional age is different than physical age. So I had a therapy appointment, what was it, Tuesday. So today is Thursday. So I had a therapy appointment Tuesday. And my therapist said, because she had a baby and she's been out since like November or something like that. She's been out since December. My therapist said that she feels like I've been putting enough work into myself that I've had a few emotional birthdays. Like I've grown up emotionally of about a few years, just from me putting the work in and just our conversation and things like that. If you don't know, I've been in psychotherapy for the last 4.5 years, since October of 2017, y'all. And I've been just working on myself, y'all. And I know people are gonna ask, like, how do you know, what's the emotional age? So most narcissistic people, a lot of narcissists experience some type of childhood trauma or abandonment and things like that in their childhood. And they experienced a phenomenon called arrested development. And arrested development means like they get stuck at a certain emotional age. Like they have to grow up. They have to grow up faster than what they are. So emotionally, we skip stages of emotional development. And even though I'm 36 years old physically, I might have emotional age, like emotional intelligence and emotional age doesn't mean that you cannot be intellectual. Like it doesn't mean you can't be a smart person. It's just that you don't connect to your emotions like everybody else does. Like you're emotionally stunted. You just are, you can be brilliant. You can be brilliant, like a scientist or something like that, but you still can lack emotional intelligence and emotional awareness. So it doesn't have anything to do with, your actual intelligence. Emotional intelligence is different. So you can be, like I said, I can be 36 years old physically, July 14th, 1985. I know a lot of people asking me for my birthday. But I can have the emotional mentality of a 12, 13-year-old. Because my therapist said when we first started working, I'm probably, my reactions and my emotional responses were probably between 8 and 12. Like an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old emotional responses. Because that's what like, you stop growing emotionally, y'all. You skip stages. Like if you had like my personal experience, like my mom worked second shift. Things were different back then. My mom worked second shift, so had to watch my younger brothers. You know what I mean? So and my dad wasn't super around either. So he was in the same city, but he wasn't like a super present father. He had his own childhood trauma that he went through, and I had mine. And abandonment issues and things like that. So I had to grow up faster. So I skipped stages of emotional development. I just did. I don't connect to my emotions like everybody else does. I just don't do that. That's not how my mind works. So a lot of narcissistic people do that. Whatever age the trauma you experience, that's the age you get stuck at emotionally. So if you experience trauma at 10 years old, then you're a 10-year-old. You have the emotional equivalence of a 10-year-old. So that's why sometimes when you're arguing or you're fussing or you're fighting with a narcissist, it doesn't feel like you're arguing and fussing and fighting with an adult. It feels like you talking to a teenager or a child sometimes. And if you call them childish, boom, you get an explosion sometimes, depending on what type of narcissistic person you deal with. Because covert narcissists might yell and scream at you, but the overt ones definitely will. But like I said, it's just like, so how we got on that topic is I was telling him about the therapist a story. Because, I was telling a story about when my wife left a few years ago and how I wanted to punch the mirror out in my bathroom. I was looking at myself in the mirror I was just angry and I was screaming to myself. And I was like, I wanted to punch the mirror. But it's like my reflection told me, don't do it. Like, what's the point? What's the point of punching the mirror right here? And she stopped me. She's like, I'm glad you said that right there. How old were you when you did that? How old were you when you were having that conversation? I like 34. She said, no, not physical. What's your emotional age right there? Think about who responds like that. I was like, well, that sounds like some young 20 year old stuff right there. She's like, yes. It's like your 36-year-old self, the one you've been working on. Your mentality told you not to break that mirror because there's nothing to gain from that except, I guess a release of anger. But you have to, you're gonna cut your hand open. You got to clean it up. You got to replace it. So your mentality has grown up a little bit because, like, again, that's a young person response right there, to blow it, like to break the mirror down. I told her sometimes I just want to hop on a plane and just go somewhere really quick. And I was like, I'm not gonna go. I'll come back. She's like, again, who does that? What age does that sound like? Like some early 20s stuff. A lot of narcissistic people, when we get older and people tell us no in our youth or people reject us in our youth, our mentality is to go back and do things that people told us that we couldn't do. Like I'm in a position now where I can actually travel when I want to. You know what I mean? But it's just like I can't do that just willy nilly because I have a wife and 3 kids. But my emotional age is like, just do it right now. Just blow it up. Let's go fight somebody. Let's go, cheat. Do it. Whatever way my mind works. The silent treatment. A lot of narcissistic people get into the mode where they want to argue. When adults handle conversations, and accusations and conflict differently than children do. Children might put their fingers in their ears and go silent and just ignore you when they don't want to deal with something. That's what adult narcissistic people do. They go silent on you. They avoid the conversation. They avoid the conflict sometimes, or they yell and scream and rage at you. Who does that? That's young kid stuff. That's 5, 6, 7-year-old, 8-year-old stuff. 9-year-old stuff. 9-year-old stuff. That's why, like I said, a lot of times it seems like you're parenting the narcissist that you're with, male or female. Whoever you're dealing with, like you're parenting that person. Because you're not arguing with an adult. You're living with an adult. You're talking to an adult, but you're not. The emotional age of that person is not on par with you. Their emotional age is way behind what their physical age is. Now, I've talked to people before where they argue with. You get a 60-year-old narcissistic person that gives them the silent treatment like a 12-year-old. They argues, they screams and cusses at them like a 13, 14-year-old. They rages out and stuff like that. They can't control their anger. Rage is an unmitigated emotion because that's what young people do. They rage out because they can't control it. They can't deal with the consequences of their actions, or to avoid accountability, or to deal with other things. They rage out instead of processing it and going through the issues. And I know people are like, well, so what do I do? How can I help this person? You can't help somebody grow up emotionally. That's something they have to do and want to work on themselves. That's literally something they have to do. They have to want to work on themselves. Like me personally, my therapist said my homework for our next session, which is like in May, I think May 10th. You notice I'm supposed to go once a month. She upped it to like once every 2-3 weeks now because she said some of the stuff I say now sounds a little psychotic, y'all. So I'm not a psychopath though. But yeah, she said what I have to work on now is responding accordingly to my age, the age I want to be, the age I want people to perceive me as. So when I'm talking to people, and like people accuse me of something, or I'm arguing with somebody, or somebody leaves some negative comment on my social media, I have to respond as a 36-year-old as opposed to a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, a young person. I can make a video calling this person out, talking about their appearance and how the lack of knowledge they have. That's not what young people. That's not what adults do. Adults tend to, if it doesn't valid, if it don't apply, let it fly. So I have to slow myself down, y'all. I know when y'all hear me say one of the best things I've done in therapy is slow myself down. That's what I mean. I literally slow myself down. I take my experiences and I slow down and I listen before I respond. I try not to react. Do I still react? Yeah, I still react now, but I try not to react. I slow myself down to the point where I'm not, I'm responding, not reacting. Like I said, when you're dealing with a narcissistic person, you can't, like literally, y'all, you can't make that person grow up emotionally. So many people want me to tell them how to get through to that narcissist, to let them know that they're hurting their feelings. Like, how do I let them know that they're hurting my feelings? They know that they're hurting your feelings. They don't want to deal with it. So they're, la la la, la 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 la, they'll do that type of stuff right there, silent treatment, scream and yell at you, as opposed to deal with it, demean you, devalue you. That's what kids do. That's not what adults do. Adults sit and listen. You can't make an emotionally stunted person grow up. You don't have that ability. They have to want to do that themselves. I want to do that. I want to grow up. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an adult. What do you want to be when you grow up emotionally? I want to be an adult. On my emotional age to reach my physical age and my my actual intelligence level and things like that. So I'm responding as an adult now. I'm trying to respond as an adult. I'm trying to respond as a I know people might look at this video and just like, well, Lee, pretty much you're saying you're childish and try to demean me and stuff like that. But I'm being open and vulnerable with you to let you know how my emotions work. I've been emotionally stunted, y'all. I have, I know that. I acknowledge that, and I'm working on it. And I've had some emotional birthdays. My therapist said, yeah, you've had some emotional birthdays. Like, your real birthday is coming up on July 14th, but you had a couple of emotional birthdays. And emotional birthdays, they don't have to take a whole year, So I'm trying to catch up emotionally. So maybe one day I'll get there. Maybe one day, maybe I'll get there. Maybe I won't. But I'm working on it. That's the goal. Is to always keep working. The goal with therapy is I always have something to look forward to. So yeah, arrested development happens, and unless that person wants to work on themselves and actively go to therapy and help themselves out, like there's nothing you can do to that person to make them grow up emotionally. They have to want to go back and face that trauma that stunted them. Deal with that trauma that stunted them. Acknowledge that trauma that stunted them. Acknowledge, and work through the trauma that stunted their emotional growth. That stopped them at age 8. What have happened to them at age 8? And my therapist said that she's like, yeah, most people get stunted around between 8 and 12 years old. And that's my first memories around 7 years old. Like my 7th or my 8th birthday. I can't really say again. My memory's kind of foggy back there. But it's my 7th or my 8th birthday. That's when I feel like I woke up. Honestly, I feel like I was born on my 7th or 8th birthday. I'm pretty sure it was 7th or 8th. That's how my mind works. If something happened to me before that, I don't remember. My mind has shielded me from that incident or whatever happened, So I hope this video has brought you some clarity as to why you feel like you might be arguing with a child. If their emotional intelligence is low, you might have to dumb down your emotional intelligence to talk to the person. I like you talking to a teenager. I don't know how to handle it, y'all, because I don't know I don't know how. I've been working on myself, so my response is going to be different than the non-self-aware, non-working on themselves narcissists. You know what I mean? But anyways, y'all, I hope this video brought you some clarity. I hope it brought you some peace, and I hope it brought you some understanding as to why the person in your life acts the way that they do. Don't feel sorry for them, because even though they went through some stuff in their childhood, it doesn't give the adult version of themselves to take it out on you. It doesn't give them the right to take it out on you. And I understand people go through traumatic experiences. You can't pick your parents, but you can pick. You can grow up and pick and choose to acknowledge yourself and work on yourself. Life's not fair, but I appreciate y'all. Like and subscribe for more. And as always, mental illness is out. Peace.